Excellent. So anyway, good morning. My name is Ryan. I'm a life coach, and um, I do a group here on Thursday nights. It's like an advanced recovery kind of thing. It's called Crossroads. And today we're going to talk about one of the lessons that I did this last Thursday. I kind of converted it slightly to be for a Sunday lesson, and I'll tell you where I'm at. My girlfriend Mimi she's been in the hospital for about 2 weeks now. It was really rough about when we brought her in. Anyway, my point that I'm getting at is that she's getting better, okay? But one of the things that it really did is it's very difficult to have faith, and that is today's topic, to have faith with lots of things happening. It's very easy when things are going good, everything's happening. I got faith, it's great, you know. But this is something that's very difficult to come through and to allow to happen. But I'm going to tell you that part of what I put together is actually from 10 years ago. And I'll say it in the lesson, but I'm going to put it together different. I was teaching from a recovery perspective after I had been around for 15 years, 10 or 15 years, and now we're at about 25 years. So where I am here, especially where I am here, is different, better, higher, you know. So anyway, I will say this, that next month there's a conference in town called ATD, I believe it is. They came and asked me if I would come speak or whatever from the Coaching Federation. And they came and they asked me, I filled out some forms and they called me back and they wanted to know, what's your program? And I had to kind of scratch my head and I don't have any programs. It just threw me for a loop. I don't have any, so I said, me. He said, that'll do. Okay. Anyway, I just thought it was funny. Anyway, so I'm going to I'm just going to come right off of it. This is something that I wrote a while back. And in my lifelong relationships, I have encountered faith on many different levels and many different degrees. The first thought of faith usually is directed towards a deity or God. So that's the first thing you can think of or hear about, is that if there's faith, okay, then it's all about God. Okay? We change that a little bit. One could be having faith in another person. So, and this is something people can consider family and those relationships. And then I talk about families that are not quite so functional. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. Is it's not quite so functional. That's the kind of the stuff that we do on Thursdays. That we don't actually have something that's totally a good situation. And we usually have people that are tremendously not functional, dysfunctional. So anyway, this type of non-faith can influence the way we handle other situations also. Okay? With early childhood negative information, faith becomes difficult. And like I said, where I am right now, it's very difficult to have faith that everything's going to be all right. You know, my situation was just off. It really was. You know, so consider the difficulty with trust issues. And one of the things that I had a difficult time with trust was that when we first came around church, okay, I came from a situation where there was abuse in the family. So what I'm really getting at is that the first thing that I thought of when they wanted to introduce me to God was my family situation, a father in my own household, which was abusive. So you come from this situation where it's really an abusive situation. It really doesn't have anything it just makes it hard, you know? It made it really hard to swallow. So anyway, if not impossible. So anyway, the next thing that that I, that I really talked about. Many times I have encountered people, and this is something that we deal with on Thursdays, people who are agnostic, or they do not understand or know even what they want, or they have political views that allow them, or that won't allow them, to go get into any sort of faith, right? There's a there's numerous Bible verses that talk about faith, and just like some of the things that we celebrate around here, that it doesn't necessarily happen to come from one type of source. Remember, most of the churches that I came up with when I was a kid, there was one way of doing things. That's it. One way. And if you do it outside of that, and anyway, I had some good people earlier in my life that showed me that there's numerous ways. That even the master, even Jesus, did things differently just to show that there's not just one way to do it. And I think that's something that's very tremendous. That um, so I guess what I'm really getting at, the representation can come from various different sources. And this is pretty much where we're coming from. That around here, there's different paths that we can take. This is a more liberal environment, so it's going to get us to a point to where it's very positively. Say it this way: it's very difficult um, to be what I used to be. I guess you know. So I did this. Some of this has to do with what was happening at the time. So I'm going to skip to the next one. Faith, and I think this is the biggest part of where we are, and that is your faith limited? Okay, and why is it limited? And one of the things that I teach around here, and most people have a hard, difficult time believing, is that there's no limits at all on anything that we can do, right? And of course, look, I'm gonna go back to that same thing. But when we were kids, the religion that we were brought up in, you had to do things a certain way, okay? And if you didn't, it wasn't gonna work. And I started noticing different people, different religions, doing different things that weren't the same. Some things way far different, and they were getting results. So how can this one particular religion that I was part of, how can you get results and they're not doing it that way? Of course, a lot of them had a lot of different reasons why that wasn't happening. Okay, but the thing that I really and look, we can go through all of the. We had various different religions. There's American religions. We can go into the Eastern ones with the old Dalai Lama and the Tibetans and Muhammad and Buddha. They all did things that got results from faith, that got perhaps miracles. Okay, so how can that happen? Okay, because that's what we were taught, that it had to be a certain way, and you were going to do it the right way, and if you weren't doing it that way, it wasn't going to work. So this is something that one of the reasons how I wound up in unity was that the reason it worked is because they believed. It was like this big lightning, white light spirit. Whoa, because they believed. And they were from different aspects, different people, different types of world, different places, and they were getting some results. So I started understanding that there was, I guess you could say, there were methods for universal truths, okay, that were coming out and coming through that started to work, that there were rules and laws. And these are, now we're coming home to unity here, that some of the laws of the universe were applicable to anyone. And you didn't have to have anyone. Maybe a little knowledge and some meditation and that sort of thing. But you didn't have to have some sort of really high knowledge. You didn't have to be part of some kind of hierarchy that to communicate with God, like it was available to anybody, you know? And so it started getting to the point, and remember where I'm at now. I'm coming from more of a recovery perspective. In this recovery perspective, we have to introduce some sort of higher power. What's not going to work? It's not. See, so we start, and these are some of the things that are in tonight's lesson. Some of the things that were in tonight's lesson, or today's lesson. I'm sorry, I'm getting back and forth. It's not Thursday. But some of the things that are in here come from a whole lot of years of working with people and seeing the problems that they created for their own self and their own path because of fear. Remember, the opposite of faith is fear. It always is and it always will be. It is the limiting factor more than anything else in the world. It's something that's going to not allow us to move to the next level, right? And we always have the thing with the hang-ups that people hold, the other things that the people that hold on to their resentments, non-forgiveness, and the last thing that I did last month was totally unforgiveness. They hold on to the non-forgiveness and they hold on to the old, and then they come up and they say, well, it didn't work. Well, there's a reason why it didn't work. You know? The reason it didn't work is because you need to embrace some sort of forgiveness, but more importantly, you need to identify what it is, or it's not going to change. And this is pretty much it's pretty much where we are as far as identifying the faith. But we can go a little further from this, okay? And what I mean by further, and this is one that I've discussed many times, okay? And I guess what it really is that through history, you can use the Bible or some of those things that we talked about, Buddha or the Dalai Lama or Muhammad. We can use any of those people. We can talk about the people of old, Jesus Christ. Well, let's use the old Noah, Moses, all of those guys. Let's go to the disciples. Paul, James, the brother of Jesus. All of those people. This is 2,000 years ago. And here's the question, okay? Is that the height of faith? Did those guys go as high as they go and it's not available to us? Or is it available to us? Can we, let's just use the word perform miracles. That's kind of a heavy one these days, right? Now my arena, just getting people well is a miracle in itself, okay? Because that's something that is just, it's such a tough situation. There's so many people in today's world that are just plain stuck, you know? And this is where I come from, where we're trying to, one person at a time, get unstuck, you know? So, and I had this thing where we talk about between 1800 and 1900, knowledge doubled, okay? And then it took half that time, 1900 to 1950, knowledge doubled again. And then from 1950 to 1970, each time it's increasing. And then 80 and 90, and think about where we are right now. I think statistically, knowledge doubles every 18 months. Okay? So let's bring that into our arena right now. Right? Is it available? And not just knowledge, but a spiritual path. Can we get better just like this knowledge? Can we embrace something that's allowed? Now, in the unity situation, we believe in universal law. Okay? And what I mean is that, and let's just go straight to the thing that we can have anything as long as it doesn't have us. See what I'm saying? And we are into prosperity, and I want to be very careful not to just say not the prosperity of money. It's available, but the prosperity of life. You know, kids, children. That is something that's prosperous. You know, we are heading into different arenas that we can do things, that we can think of things, and it's going to happen for us because we have found something. Remember the key word to it, to have faith to allow it. You know? And this is pretty much where we're coming from. That We have to be clear of mind and intention. We have to be, I guess, away from the old type of thinking, and I always bring this up right now. Our world is tugging at us from every direction, trying to get us to believe a certain way or think a certain way, do something or vote a certain way. And I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't be involved in that. What I'm trying to say is that we shouldn't be involved in the continual back and forth of ideas of resentment, things that were different. You know, that sign right there says unity. In other words, we're supposed to be open to everything and every idea. That's a little difficult, you know, especially when people come in that we don't agree with how they think or what they do. Remember, everybody has to be on a certain level. And where we're at, and I truly believe that this is one of the higher levels that exist in today's world at this particular level. And I truly believe that everything that we just say it this way, and I've said it from here many times, is that everything that has been happening in my life and in my world since I embraced a new type of faith, unity, okay, it's worked. Everything, including relationships with people, relationships with family, some of the most important things that there are, relationships with business, relationships with even people in this room and people on Thursday nights and the groups that I'm part of, and whatever this thing is I'm supposed to be speaking at next month. All of those things are relationships that are meaningful, and it is taken to pull my head out of where we used to be and ideas that limit me, and to get into unlimited sources, things that work. And like I said, it really, every time I apply some of the teachings, every single time it's been working. Every time. And I want to go shout it to the world. Hey, try this, do this. And then people will always come up and have reasons why they can't do it, or that it's wrong, or they use shame. And much of the time, and I taught on this like 3 weeks ago, one of the biggest hindrances in recovery is toxic shame. They won't allow themselves to receive the blessings that God has for them. They just won't, because they feel like that I should have some sort of punishment for life or something like that. Or maybe it's never going to happen for me. Or some beliefs that are going to get to a point where it's not going to materialize. You know? So anyway, I use this guy, right? I don't know if y'all remember this one. This was when I was a kid, every Sunday just before Easter or something like that. And this was, we would be shimmying in our boots. They would make us watch it as a family. Everybody come in there and watch Charlton Heston. You know? And some of the things that they depict with all the miracles, that's really pretty good. In other words, that's really what we would like to embrace. Some freedom that comes from all of this kind of stuff. But also, and this is the one that I just talked about, that that we went through all of these guys, spiritual leaders, and we can even bring the spiritual leaders of today. There's big churches, and there's a church going on right now that has 30,000 people at it. And what I'm trying to get at, and is some of the churches that I used to be in Kenner and Metairie and that sort of thing that are all part of. And what I'm trying to get at is that every one of them is on a certain level. But I guess what I'm really trying to say is that each one of them, for me, has become easier and easier to achieve some sort of relationship. And I'm going to end with this, that the relationship with God is very important, right? The ability to allow something to flow into my life, or allow some of the intentions to come and be part of me, right? The biggest hindrance with that is the relationship with myself. And it has to be clear, and it has to be open, and it has to be available, or God can do nothing, because I have a wall between me. In recovery, they call it blocking the sunlight of the spirit. I don't know who that is, but they're gonna be in big trouble. Maybe ring my phone. God call me back. Yeah. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is that the continual relationship that is continued through each time gets better and higher, and the available to I just kind of think that God is trying to bless everyone. Life, love, relationships, people, prosperity, knowledge. Just believe that we are the ones, especially in this particular church, that are able to receive because we have to belong. You know? When I leave here tonight, this afternoon, I'm gonna go back to the hospital. I've been there every day for the past 2 weeks. She's going to a rehab tomorrow, and she's supposed to stay there for 2 weeks to get strong. And I want this. Yeah, I want her home, but I think the biggest thing is that she's never been this bad, this sick before. So it's been difficult. And this is back to where we are. Faith. Do I have the faith to believe that the best thing's going to happen? Notice I didn't say that the thing that I want to happen is going to happen. That I'm able to see things the way, or an attempt to see it the way God sees. Because I want it to just be my way. I just want to just come home and everything's well and that sort of thing. I'm not sure what the best avenue is and how to be fair with everyone. So that's what I'm talking on faith today. In this particular arena, I'm struggling, and I'm having some problems. So today, we're going to come talk about faith. So in a way, I'm really, more than anything else, I'm preaching to me, And I think you get my point that this struggle is giving me, and look, don't forget my ego wants to say, look, this is your time. You can shout all that stuff you've been working on, and you're getting so much better and everything else. It's like the truth is that I am just as human as the next guy. And it hurts. 2 weeks ago, they were coming in asking us about do we want to resuscitate or let them. I wasn't ready for that, It's like, whoa, stop, And I put it on her daughter and said, well, ask her. Because I didn't want to come up and give some sort of answer. And I said, she was unconscious. So I said, look, I want you to go ahead and, when she wakes up, we'll ask her. That's kind of how I put it. And that, she's okay, but we're at a point to where it's going to be different than what it's been for the past. We've been together for 20 years. So the relationship's going to change, and I'm going to have the wherewithal to be spiritual enough. Maybe I won't be as good as Charlton Heston with the staff, but at least I can squeak through and make it to the other side. And remember, service to others, especially in my own household, this is where it's at anyway. Everything that's available comes through that, And that's pretty much given me an opportunity here to use what I've learned over the past at least 5 to 10 years on a spiritual path to get to the point to where we can actually do something that we like. So I don't have a big long dialogue today. This is pretty much where I end or whatever. But I want everyone to know this is something that I have felt that even though it's been a very tough situation, my spiritual life, my prayer life has improved maybe better than I've ever experienced. And it wasn't just some kind of yay, everything's happening and we're getting all of this good stuff. The truth is it's been a better experience during the down times. So it sounds kind of crazy because we just want it to be wonderful. But this is part of life too. So I really do want to get to a point to where I'm going to use this as a springboard to a higher, better life, more faith. That if I believe, or should I say, when I believe, And how did a Wayne guy say it? You will see it when you believe it. That's all for me. Thanks for letting me share. Mhm.